Hi, my name is Adam O'Neill. I'm a member of the Beaufort County Conservative Republican PAC. We put out a fundraising letter a few weeks back that got a lot of attention, and there's been a lot of information put out that's not true about the letter. So we wanted to do a video to show people and to talk to people about what the letter was and what it meant. I'd like to start by talking about how we got involved with the school board. It started with the mask. If you remember a couple of years ago during COVID, the kids were having to wear masks in school. Well, the actual mask, the weave, was actually larger than the virus. So the mask didn't make a lot of sense, which science has proven since then, and we knew it back then as well. But the kids were having to wear masks all day, every day at school. So they were inhaling the carbon dioxide all day long and, having whatever effects the mask would have on their development. So when it got to the point where they're even wearing the mask during ball games, like a basketball game, and all the players have a mask on, or at school where someone say, I'm sitting here, I get COVID. The people sitting next to me have to go home because I got COVID and they don't even test positive. When that insanity started, we started getting involved with the schools. And what we saw was there was a lack of respect for parents and parents' will. So the parents had real problems with what was going on. And actually the school board acted as though they represented the schools or the governor or someone other than the parents and the citizens of Beaufort County. So anyway, we got involved in the school races. At that time, there were 4 seats up that particular year that came up. And we fielded 3 candidates and they won. So those candidates have now been on the board for a year and a half or so, or a little over a year. And they've done a decent job. They really have. They've tried, but they keep running into roadblocks as they try to get things done. But I'll give you an example here, once again, of why we got involved. It became, after we had some people on the board, then we started learning about what was going on, learning when curriculums were introduced, learning issues that were going on in the school system. Well, one of the big things that happened last spring was there was a social science class or curriculum called SAVIS. And the school board was considering approving SAVIS for social studies in our schools. We started doing research on it and we found it was one of the most woke programs, curriculums that there is in the country. And as we dove into it, we found things that were extremely alarming. To give you an example, because they'll say this isn't true after I show you, but I'm showing you the actual slide that the school board was presented when the SAVIS salesperson came to meet with the school board. And if you'll look, Donald Shreve happened to catch this on his computer. They took it down later. One of the slides says, how will you dispute the church? So they were considering a social studies curriculum that actually had lessons on how to dispute the church. So anyway, we got out and we were able to stop that from being purchased by the county to this point. I'm sure it's probably still on the radar screen. But anyway, we just kind of amazed that they would even consider something like that. But we have a school board that is totally run by the superintendent. Our 3 guys are not so much a stamp. They stand strong. But the other 6, whatever the superintendent wants to do, they pretty much go along with it. So the SAVIS issue happened. And of course, we're thinking the next election, we've got to be involved again. And then something even wilder happened. We had a young lady, 11 years old, at one of the schools, elementary schools in Washington, who was brutally attacked after school one day in the pickup line, to the point where a couple of girls attacked her and was stabbed her in the head with pencils. So it was a horrific thing. Well, you didn't hear anything about it. There was nothing in the media about it. It was quiet. So we started asking questions. And we found out that the mother of this girl that was assaulted went to the school and said, hey, are these girls coming back that attacked my daughter? And the principal told her that they weren't there currently, but she didn't know if they'd be back or not. So we couldn't even tell that lady that her daughter would be safe every day at that school, even after that attack. We then had another situation where one of the girl who was attacked, one of her friends got threatened. And we had text messages saying that these girls texting her saying they're going to beat her up the last day of school, having her run into the library during days of school, being bullied. Do you know what our superintendent did? The little girl, who's a really good student and good little kid, sent her home to homeschool the rest of the year and left the bullies in school. This is the kind of things that are going on with our schools. And bullying is rampant in our schools. I see here today because of these kids. I think about the kids that are being bullied, that are scared to get on the school bus, scared to go to school, because they're not doing a whole lot about bullying. Some of these schools are out of control with the bullying. So that's another issue that really got us motivated. And then another thing that happened, I think is important for everybody to understand, is when you go to the grocery store and you get change, do you notice that the young person has a hard time giving you change? I think everybody realizes that. Well, why is that? Well, as we've looked into like the math curriculum and the way things are being taught, we can show you now why it's such a problem. Some of you have kids in school and you've had to help them with homework. And you know about the ridiculous amount of zeros you have to add to a number, or the pictures you have to draw to do a simple problem. And what's happening is these kids are not learning math. For example, I have here an actual problem that was with a third grade class at Northeastern Elementary. And if you'll look, it's trying to find the area of a rectangle. And the rectangle is 3 units wide, we'll say feet, 3 feet wide by 21 feet long. So as all of us learned it, if you're over 30 years old probably, or 35, area of a rectangle is length times height. So you simply take the 21 times 3, and there's your area. There's 63. So there's 63 square feet in there, okay? That's how we learn. That's very simple. It's not real hard to learn. Here's how kids are learning the area of a rectangle today with Common Core. First thing is you have to fix, I don't know what this is called, a number bond, a number bomb, I don't know. Something I couldn't understand the teacher. You take the 21, the length, and you divide it in half. So you've got one part that's 10 feet and one 11, okay? Then what you do is you take the 10 and multiply it times the 3, the width, and that gives you 30. You take the 11 over here, the 11, and you multiply it times 3, and you get 33. Then you take the 30 and 33, you add them together to get 63. Do you see how many steps that is? Now, an A student, a really sharp kid that's really smart, they're going to think through that and be able to handle it. But most of our kids, instead of one step, we have 3 or 4 steps. It's going to become harder to learn. And we've got this going on, and parents, many of you have seen it. And it's a problem. We have got to go back to traditional methods of teaching math. We've got to dust off the 1960 math books and put them back into class so our kids learn math. There's major problems with our math. 65% of the freshmen in Beaufort County cannot do Math 1 on grade level. 65% on grade level. That's across the county. Some high schools are worse. But Math 1 is the easiest math in high school, and 65% of our kids are not on grade level with math. And I submit to you, it's this right here. The teachers are not so much the problem, it's the curriculum and the way they're having to teach things that's causing the problems. And the woke administrators we have in place now will never change that. They will continue right on, and we'll continue to have kids that can't do math. We'll continue to have 65% of the kids that can't do math on grade level. These are some of the issues while we are involved with the school board. Our kids are being left behind. They're not being taken care of properly. There are different curriculums. There are different ways of doing things that need to be implemented here in the county. Things are not going well. The leadership is always saying, oh, we're doing great. Oh, everything's great. It's not great. It's horrible. So what we did is there's 5 seats up this year, 5 school board seats. And we went out over the last 6 or 8 months and found 5 candidates. You may have seen our signs around looking for Christian conservative school board candidates. We found 5 candidates for the 5 seats. And these are independent people who will stand on their own, who believe our school system, it has to change. 3 of these candidates have primaries coming up. That'll be March 5th. Early vote starts February 15th. They are Ray Stark, who is our candidate, running against Carolyn Walker, who is a rhino that will not change anything. Brian Wood, who's running against Terry Draper, who's been on the board for many, many years. And once again, we've got these woke things creeping in more. I'm going to show you in a minute. And then we have Stacey Davis running against Greg Doherty. So we have those 3 races in the primaries coming up. Now, because of those races, we sent out a fundraising letter. It's not something unusual to do. We just happened to send out a fundraising letter. The letter which I have right here. I have a few notes on it. This letter right here, that's the whole letter. I'm going to go through it with you quickly. But there have been people that say this letter is false and it's got lies in it. This letter has everything in it that is accurate. And I'm going to go through each one of them so that you have opportunity to hear about how these are accurate. And you make your own mind up. Because that's the thing. We've got an election coming up. If you want to continue on with our school system the way it is, doing math like this, letting kids get out of school that can't write papers, if you want to keep doing that, we can just stick with what we've got. But if you want to change things, things like this have to happen. We have to point out that things are not good. If you're not paying attention, you might not know. Some people don't have kids in school. Let's talk with, let's go through this. It says, our kids need you. Our schools are failing our children. The first item says 15 genders now being taught at early college. Now, most of you probably understand there's male and female. There's two genders, or that's sexes, and masculinity and femininity is two genders. Well, at the early college, which is high school juniors and seniors, the sociology teacher over there is teaching 15 genders. Now, when you just hear that, it kind of raises your eyebrow and you say, hey, that's amazing. No, they're testing these kids on these genders. So there's tests that they're taking. And if they don't answer the questions as the woke, leftist, liberal teacher says, then they count it wrong. For example, I'll give you an example. We had a whistleblower, a young lady that came forward. And she showed us the test. This is just one of the slides. This is the question. This is in class. You see the kids in the background. This is this teacher's test. In every society, there are only two distinct genders. She answered true. If you look at the bottom, you'll see a big red X. That's false. So as you can see, true is the wrong answer. So she's making kids, against their beliefs and against science, answer these questions as she decides she wants them to answer them. She's putting this on our kids. These are not college kids, which that's a whole nother story. But these are high school kids that they're doing this to. And it's being allowed to continue. The rhinos that are on the school board, they don't do anything and won't do anything. They're doing nothing about this. And they know about this. Earlier in the fall, there was a sexual presentation to the kids at early college. There's a unicorn article about it. It was some type of unicorn program. But they're out there teaching the kids about transsexuals. Is that what you want? How about the people that have Christian homes and they don't believe in all this stuff? Why is the school pushing this stuff on our high school kids? Why are they doing that? Because they have no respect for parents. They have no respect for you. What you want, as far as your kids determined, is not any. They don't care. They don't care what you think. Like some places out west now, they're taking kids and having these surgeries done on them to change their sex without the parents' permission anymore. They've got kids out west that if they decide they're a girl when they're a boy and the parents don't go along with it, they take your kid from you. Well, let me tell you something. That stuff is creeping right here. And this is the kind of thing that shows us coming, the transsexual thing. All this stuff is showing you this coming. Even this. That shows you that the people we have in charge do not reflect our values. And we need to take some action. Number 2, gay and lesbian books in our elementary school libraries. This is going on. Bath Elementary has been the worst offender. The latest book that came out of there was called Going Viral, about 2 little girls that had a relationship beyond what little girls should probably have. And the author's name is Katie Cicatelli Kook, K-U-C. Last name is spelled, if you want to look it up, C-I-C-A-T-E-L-L-I, and then hyphen K-U-C, Katie. That's the last one that came up. The school board knows that there are gay and lesbian books in the libraries. Did they do an audit? It's been brought up to them? No, because they don't care. They don't care what you think. They don't care that your kid comes home with that book and starts reading it and then figures out what it is. They don't care. Once again, a total disrespect for the parents' rights of how you're going to raise your child. Sex and religion should be kept at home. You teach kids whatever you want to teach them. That's fine, but don't push your stuff on other people. For example, prayer in school, that has been brought back by our 3 people that just got elected. Well, it's a non-denominational prayer. It's for everyone. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. We don't need to be jamming stuff down our kids' throats. The other one is 10 schools in the county that score less than 70 on state performance evaluations. Here are the scores. You can go online and find them. That is absolutely true. They're right here. You can look at the scores. Okay. And there's 5 schools that are getting less than a 50. So let's think about that. Our schools and how they perform, they're graded on a scale from 1 to 100. We have 5 schools that can't even get a 50. And because the school scores are so bad, the state has started moving the letter grades down. So now a D, they've got it all the way down to 40. So they can say a school that's getting a 40 on the assessments is a passing grade. So in North Carolina, if you get a 40 score out of 1 to 100 with your school, they say you're passing. Well, obviously you're not passing. It's just politics. Our schools are in an awful mess. I'll give you some of the numbers here. Let's see here. Eastern Elementary has a 45. Chocowinity Middle School, 53. John C. Taylor, 45. John Small, 43. Northeast Elementary, 53. P.S. Jones, 42. Snowden, 44. And those are elementary schools. Washington High School's got a 54. Northside's got a 66. Bath Elementary's got a 72. Early College's got a 96. So it's not impossible to have schools that do well, but we've got some schools that are grossly underperforming and need help, and they're not going to get it. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you always got. If we don't change the curriculums and we don't change what we're doing, these scores are going to continue just like they are now. We have to make change. So once again, that's another item that was on this letter. No national anthem played by some of our schools at sporting events. This came from Washington High School. I've got a niece and my girlfriend's daughter. They play basketball. So we went to Washington High School to see a basketball game, the girls' game. We go, there's no national anthem. Before the girls' game is when most of the schools play the national anthem. I've been to all the schools because I'm going to ball games all the time, and that's when they play it, either before the girls or the boys. Well, once we brought this up, the superintendent and the administration came out and said, oh, they play it before the JV game, as if we didn't see it. Well, the problem was that the way we knew the national anthem wasn't played, because the parents were talking about it in the stands. The way we know is I went to the announcer after the girls' game. Well, actually, it was halftime of the boys' game. We were about to leave. And the announcer at Washington High School is fantastic. I mean, he's got a voice. He could be doing the Boston Celtics. The guy is fantastic. So I went up to him and I said, hey, I really, enjoyed your announcing. You're really good at it. And he said, thank you. And I said, oh, did y'all play the national anthem? He said, no. He said, we haven't been playing it this year. I don't know why. Now, that came from the announcer for Washington High School. He's the guy that says, please stand up, take your hat off so we can play the national anthem. Probably a pretty credible source. If he says they're not playing the national anthem, I bet they're not playing the national anthem. But of course, the administration of the schools is embarrassed and they make up a story. And that's not good when you have leadership that lies. Next up, critical race theory in our schools, teaching racism to our kids. We absolutely have that going on. And the math program they just bought, Bridges, is a prime example of it. That is as woke a program as you can buy. They have social justice discussions before math class is suggested in that curriculum. They have that curriculum encourages to get in groups to do math problems and to come to an agreement on the answer. I mean, it's what's called social. Let's see, social. I can't remember the name of it. Social. I'm gonna get that for you though. Social emotional learning. Yeah, social emotional learning. That's what it's called. So instead of doing hard, straightforward math and everybody learning what they're doing, we're all getting our feelings into the math program. And bridges, once again, it's all about, about racism being brought into curriculums throughout schools. And they're doing it all across the country. The last one is disrespect for parents' role in education by woke administrators. The administrators in Beaufort County believe they know what's best for your kid. And you're not that smart. So they're going to take care of the kids for you. That's basically how they act. Just like, for example, the sexual stuff, the gender stuff, they don't care that you don't want it. They're going to put it in your face anyway. And the people on the board now, and some of them are nice people. These aren't mean, ugly people. These people are just weak. They will not stand up and they will not stop this stuff. And that's why we've got to do something different. Now, I told you about that. The rest of the letter is just, that we have 5 candidates and we'll take donations. Now let's look at the pledge real quick. And I know this video is getting long, but stick with me. The pledge, which they actually have talked about as if it's a bad thing. Here's the thing the pledge talks about. This is our candidates. Our 5 candidates have signed a contract. There's their signatures. They've signed a contract that they will promote these ideals that I have here on this piece of paper. So we in the last time we ran, we had 3 guys run. 2 of them have totally stuck to what they're supposed to do. One's kind of waffled. So we want to have a contract signed with these people that we know they're going to do what they've told us. School board candidates contract with citizens of Beaufort County. Abolish gender identity and LGBTQ presence and influence in our school. Number 1. Now, if you want LGBTQ presence and you want this gender stuff, don't vote for these people, because that's going to be the first thing they do is start throwing that out. Removal of all external politics from the classroom. Climate change agenda propaganda removed from the curriculum. We're learning that that's just a scam. That's just a political movement. Zero tolerance for bullying. Some of our schools have a really bad bullying problem. We have kids that are afraid to go to school, that are afraid to get on the bus. We've got to deal with that. We've got to have a campaign against it. Comprehensive review of all curriculums that are failing our kids by the new board. Children must be taught math and English in traditional manners that have proven successful over hundreds of years. Institute a course of the United States Constitution separate from civics that must be passed for graduation. We've got a situation where our kids, they don't know what their rights are. I mean, we've got people that get out of school now and think the U.S. Constitution is a bad thing. The actual document that secures their rights to disagree with the actual document. The Bill of Rights, these things must be taught to our children so they know what their rights are. Respect and recognition of parents' primary role in their child's development. We do not need to be doing things to kids that their parents do not want done to them. School meetings tailored for more parent participation. Formation of alternate school for bad behavior students. We had a school called EdTech, and they would take the kids that couldn't behave and they would put them in this EdTech, and then they would get special attention, and they wouldn't be in the classroom to distract the entire classroom. The board just closed that down and put the kids that have the problems right back in the regular classroom. What do you think that's going to do to performance? It's going to hurt it. That's something that you can't have. You've got to have a place for these kids that are trouble where they can go and get some help, get some individual attention, have some professional help there to help those kids cope with whatever they're dealing with and try to get them back where they can go back to school with everyone. Teachers give them bonuses based on student progress. All through business, if you're successful, you get bonuses. Why shouldn't we have that in Beaufort County? That's what this school board has said. If you're a good teacher, we want to give you a bonus on top of your salary. Formation of support program for students who are falling behind in math and English. If we have students that can't do math or can't write a paper or can't read, we need to have special programs for those kids to make certain that they know how to read when they graduate, that they know how to do common math when they graduate. We have to do that. Formation of an anonymous complaint line for parents, teachers, students, and staff. Right, what happens, I was a mayor in Belhaven for 12 years, and what happens is a town manager, a superintendent, whoever, they try to control the information you get as a leader of a community or a leader on a board. They want to, if anything's going wrong, they want to try to knock it down before it gets to you. It's good for their job, makes them look good. Well, the problem with that is that when you get the right person in, you'll never really know what's going on in the school because you'll never hear about it. They'll stop everything. They'll tell all the teachers, you can only talk to me. Don't talk to the board members, the things like that. Now, I've been through that, and you have to get that out of the way in order to be able to operate. It would be like you owning a business and your manager doesn't let anything get to you, so you know how your business is doing. You just have to believe whatever he says. Well, with this anonymous hotline, students, let's say a student's having a problem in school or somebody's harassing them or a teacher's doing something wrong or whatever it could be, they'll have a number they can call and talk. Parents have a problem, they can call. Teachers have a problem, they can call. And these calls will be handled by a third party and then go directly to board members. Okay? So then they're in touch with what's going on and they know the problems at the creation of the problem instead of down the road. Recognition of athletics and the benefit of athletics and child development. Coaches' bonuses on how well they do, how well their teams do, how well they perform. Once again, our schools, we have schools right now that have pretty good athletes, and sometimes they never send out a letter to a college. They never try to get them in front of people. We need to try to do that. Some of these kids could get a free way to college if colleges knew about them. We need to have systems set up to help those kids. Complete evaluation of school system assets maintenance. That's really important. Going through and looking at our actual infrastructure of the school system and making sure everything's working properly. Business management evaluation of the entire management of our schools. A business audit. When I was in Belhaven, we did a business audit and found out there were people that didn't even have a job. They were just coming to work and basically there was nothing for them to do. Well, in the school system, you have hundreds and hundreds of employees and you need to make sure that everything is being worked as efficiently as it can. Because if you are not doing that, you're robbing the taxpayer. Surveys for parents to have input on cafeteria food. Talk to your granddaughter or your grandson, your son or your daughter, and ask them how the food is at school. They'll tell you it stinks. I've talked to cafeteria workers who've told me the food stinks. They won't let them make it taste good. There's a problem with cafeteria food. The superintendent's been made aware of this. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Comprehensive safety audit of schools. Our school safety is top priority. You know, our schools, we have like one resource officer in there. Well, I mean, probably we should have two. And probably they should have access to weapons that would repel any kind of attack that would come at the school. I don't really think they have that now. They have a revolver on their side, but what do you do if somebody shows up with an AR-15? You know, there needs to be an audit and needs to be some serious thought given to protecting our kids. We have all these teachers, we might as well add 2 more employees to make sure our kids are taken care of and are safe. Develop leadership of schools that only focus on children's learning. Leadership is not warped by outside influences, like this woke program that's going across the country. We need people focused on the kids learning the basics so they can be successful in life instead of all this social politics. Religious and sexual education shall be acknowledged as best taught at home by parents. Allowances for student expression of faith shall be allowed in school. Once again, we should not be putting down people's religion. We should not be doing things to kids that the parents wouldn't want done anyway. The purpose of school is to educate these folks, these kids, to be able to have a successful life. And last, total and complete abolishment of any courses with terms related to critical race theory. Critical race theory is a program to turn people against each other. In this country, all of us are in the same boat. We're in the same family. And most of the time we get along really good. What critical race theory does is it teaches things in a manner to try and cause division. We don't need division in our county. We need people to look after each other and to take care of each other, which is what we have mostly. Now, the resolution that the school board came up with a week or so ago, let's talk about that. So this fundraising letter, which you just heard of, which is not uncommon in politics, this goes out and the school board gets embarrassed. And they're embarrassed because we just pointed out some, not all, some of the problems that we're having in our schools. So they get embarrassed. They have a meeting and pass a resolution saying that we're attacking the teachers. We're not attacking the teachers. Make it clear we're attacking the administration of the Beaufort County school system. They are colossal failures in educating our kids. These teachers, the curriculums they have need to be changed. There's real problems going on, and we're just getting the same as usual. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you always got. I told you that earlier. And in this case, we've got to change some things. You know, they talked about teachers in the resolution. Beaufort County Conservative Republican PAC are completely and totally behind the teachers. We don't think the teachers are the problems. We think the administration is the problems. As a matter of fact, we've had teachers come to us when this woke stuff and all this mess comes in, and they don't want to participate with it. And they'll kick up a little bit about some of the things that are going on. And they tell us what they're told is that they don't work for, let's say, Northside or Washington High School. You don't work for that school. You work for the Beaufort County school system. So what they do is they threaten them that if you're at Northside and you don't toe the line, well, we'll just transfer you to Aurora. And you live in Northside, your kids go to school over that way, and now you're teaching in Aurora. They'll move you around. That's how they threaten the teachers. That won't go on anymore. That will not go on anymore. Y'all will stop. Now, it's important to understand in our lives, government issues, a lot of times not a lot we can do about it. Schools in Beaufort County can be changed right now. You can do something about our school system and all this mess that's going on that's not good for our kids. We have 3 people on the board now out of the 9 that are conservatives, and we need these other 5. All we need is 5 total of the 9 to have the ability to make big changes. But we need those 5 candidates that we have that are running right now, 3 of them in the primary, and then there'll be, I think, maybe 3 of them in the fall as the way things work out. But anyway, those 5 people, we need to get them into office. You can change things right now. If you're a parent, you have a kid in school, what can I do about this? I'm so frustrated. Go vote, because these people will change what's going on. And once again, they've signed a contract with us that they're going to do the things I just told you about. And we're going to be able to take this. You'll be able to take this up there and say, hey, you said you were going to do this. So it's important to get out to vote. And it's important to understand that this resolution that the school board did was nothing more than politics. And how silly is it to do that? Think about all the political races that there are, and if every board did a resolution when they didn't like a letter an opponent put out. It's absolutely silly that they did this. But it's important for us to try to set the record straight. What I've just told you is exactly what the deal is. And these things are all provable. I've shown you some of the proof of some of them. They're very strong things to think about. You need to get out your friends and your neighbors to vote. Starting February 15th, that's when early voting starts. And that's usually, most of the time, it's at the Board of Elections behind the hospital. February 15th, which you can go anytime during the day. March 5th is the last day of voting. So once again, please consider coming out to vote. And please understand that the Beaufort County Conservative Republican PAC, we're the people who are actually working to try and change these things. We're not the ones who are out here talking about it. We're literally going and finding candidates. We're helping them campaign, and we're pushing them. And with your help, in the next month and a half, 2 months, we can start to get this Beaufort County school system changed. And in the fall, we'll be able to completely make our school system a system that works for our kids and respects our parents. Thank you for listening.